Module Overview. As we culminate our exploration into the language of film specifically, its shots, angles, and composition, we turn our attention to symbolic visual storytelling. This module examines how filmmakers move beyond literal representation to craft deeply layered, metaphorical, and often poetic expressions using the building blocks of cinema. Symbolism and metaphor are core to artistic expression, enabling filmmakers to embed abstract ideas into tangible images. These elements transcend dialogue, operating at a subconscious level, speaking to the viewer in the language of dreams, emotions, and archetypes. Whether it's a recurring visual motif, a striking symbolic color scheme, or a camera angle that places a character in a cosmic position, abstract visuals help shape complex meanings about identity, death, time, power, culture, and the human condition. In this final module, you will learn to read film the way one reads literature or visual art, recognizing visual metaphors, decoding symbolic imagery, and understanding how abstraction operates through composition, shot design, and spatial storytelling. Learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to identify and interpret visual metaphors and symbols in film, understand how composition and framing express abstract and conceptual themes, analyze the use of colors, recurring imagery, and visual motifs to convey deeper meanings, differentiate between literal and symbolic representation in shots and sequences, apply symbolic techniques to their own film analyses or production concepts. Core content areas. 10.1 Introduction to Symbolism. In film, symbolism is the use of objects, settings, characters, or visual elements to represent abstract ideas or themes. A rose may signify love, beauty, or decay. A broken mirror may reflect identity crisis or psychological fragmentation. A labyrinth might represent confusion, entrapment, or the unconscious mind. Symbols often function on multiple levels: denotative, literal meaning; connotative, suggested or cultural meaning; mythic, archetypal, universal unconscious imagery. 10.2 Visual metaphor. When imagery becomes concept. Unlike a symbol, which substitutes one thing for another, a metaphor equates two unlike things to create a new, unified meaning. Visual metaphor allows filmmakers to equate a visual image with a thematic idea. Example: in American Beauty, a plastic bag floating in the wind becomes a metaphor for beauty, transience, and the sublime within the mundane. More examples of visual metaphors. A locked door, symbolizing repressed trauma. Pan's Labyrinth. A decaying house mirroring a deteriorating marriage. Revolutionary Road. A repeated high-angle shot representing God's eye or the burden of fate. 10.3 Visual motifs and recurrence motifs are repeated visual elements that acquire significance through recurrence. Common motifs include mirrors, identity, duality, self-perception; birds, freedom, danger, transcendence; windows and doors, entrapment, transition, surveillance; water, change, emotion, cleansing, depth. These motifs often develop over the course of a film or an entire filmmaker's oeuvre, e.g., Alfred Hitchcock's use of staircases or Quentin Tarantino's trunk shots. 10.4 Camera angles as symbolic tools. Camera angles are not just technical choices. They often mirror power structures, emotional states, or thematic perspectives. High angle, vulnerability, insignificance, humility; low angle, power, intimidation, dominance; bird's eye view, fate, divine perspective, surveillance; Dutch angle, tilted, disorientation, imbalance, psychological unease; over-the-shoulder framing, subjectivity, power dynamics, presence versus absence. 10.6 Framing as thematic emphasis. The frame within the frame is a powerful tool for embedding subtext. Characters viewed through windows, doorways or screens may feel trapped, voyeuristic, or disconnected. Tight framing may imply claustrophobia or pressure. Open framing may represent freedom, chaos, or existential uncertainty. Case study. In The Truman Show, windows, screens, and camera lenses become visual symbols of surveillance, control, and artificial reality. 10.7. Time, memory, and the abstract composition. Some films use nonlinear structures or experimental composition to represent memory, emotion, or existential themes. These may include superimpositions to express overlapping timelines or consciousness, jump cuts to reflect fractured thought, slow motion, or time-lapse to emphasize subjective experience, blurry focus to evoke confusion or trauma. Example, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind uses collapsing sets and fading compositions to represent memory erasure. 10.8. The poetic image and cinematic abstraction. Some films operate on an entirely poetic or symbolic level, where literal interpretation is secondary to emotional or philosophical resonance. Examples: The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick, uses celestial imagery, voiceover, and memory fragments to explore existence and spirituality. Persona, Ingmar Bergman. Abstract visuals reflect identity dissolution and psychological mirroring. 2001, A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick. Abstract visuals are used to explore evolution, time, and the infinite. Such works demand interpretation, encouraging viewers to become active participants in constructing meaning. Iconic case studies in symbolic and abstract visual language. Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. Each dream is a visual allegory using weather, color, and spirit figures. Jordan Peele's Us. Mirrors, rabbits, and red jumpsuits all carry allegorical and mythic significance. Darren Aronofsky's Mother, a symbolic retelling of creation, sacrifice, and environmental destruction. Key terms: symbolism metaphor, motif, visual abstraction, thematic framing, color theory, cinematic metaphor, subjective composition, poetic image, philosophical mise en scène.